Hello and welcome to English in Advance. I'm your host, Jessica, and this is the podcast designed to help you, the dedicated English learner, go far beyond the textbook and use this beautiful, complex language with the confidence and clarity you have always wanted. I am so glad you have chosen to spend your time with me today. We are going to be diving deep, really deep, into a topic that I believe is the most important one in all of language learning. It's not about irregular verbs. It's not about phrasal verb lists. It's about the feeling inside you. It's about confidence. Our mission for this episode is to explore how you can learn to speak English confidently, not just in a classroom, but anywhere, anytime, with anyone. I want you to think about a time this has happened to you. Maybe it was just last week. You are in a group of people, or perhaps just a one-on-one conversation. They are talking, laughing, and you are following along. You understand most of it. You have an opinion. You have a story to add. You know the words, or at least you think you know the words. You take a breath, you open your mouth to speak, and nothing. Your mind feels like a blank, white wall. You suddenly can't remember the simplest vocabulary. You panic. You start to worry about your grammar, your pronunciation. You feel your face get warm, and the moment passes. The conversation moves on, and you are left feeling silent, frustrated, and maybe even a little foolish. You tell yourself that old, familiar story. My English just isn't good enough. If this story sounds even a little familiar, I want you to take a deep breath and let it out. You are not alone. This feeling, this speaking anxiety, is the single most common, most shared experience among language learners all over the globe. It doesn't matter if you have been studying for 6 months or for 10 years. This fear can be paralyzing. It can make all those hours you spent studying grammar books and listening to podcasts feel completely useless. But here is the great news, the absolute wonderful truth that I want you to hold on to. Confidence is not a personality trait you are born with. It is not a gift that some people have and others don't. Confidence is a skill. And just like any other skill, like playing the piano or learning to cook, it can be learned. It can be practiced. It can be built brick by brick, one small action at a time. And that is exactly what we are going to do together today. This is going to be a long, detailed episode. We're not just going to skim the surface. We are going to go deep. We are going to act like detectives, investigating why this happens. We will put a name to those fears so they have less power over us. And then we are going to build a complete toolkit full of practical, real-world strategies that you can start using today. Not next month. Not when you feel ready. Today. We are not aiming for perfection. Perfection is a trap. It doesn't exist. We are aiming for communication. We are aiming for progress. We are aiming for the ability to share your ideas and your personality with the world. So wherever you are, I invite you to get comfortable. Maybe you are on a long walk or driving or washing the dishes. This is your time. This is your investment in yourself. Let's leave that frustration behind and begin the journey to building the confident English speaker that is already inside you. First, let's be honest with ourselves. Why is speaking so much harder than listening, reading, or even writing? When you listen to this podcast, you are in a low-pressure situation. You are receiving information. You can pause me if you need a break. You can rewind if you missed something. When you read a book, you can go at your own speed. You can look up a word in the dictionary. But when you speak, you are in the hot seat. You are live. You are producing language in real time, often in front of another person who is waiting for you to finish. Your brain is doing a dozen things at once. It's trying to find the right vocabulary, trying to put those words in the correct grammatical order, trying to manage your pronunciation and intonation, trying to listen to the other person's body language. And on top of all of that, it's also running a second program in the background, a program called, "Oh no, am I making a mistake? Do I sound stupid? Are they judging me?" It is an incredible amount of mental or cognitive load. It's no wonder we freeze. Because it is such a high-pressure activity, our biggest enemies get to join the party. These enemies are fear and anxiety. But fear is a very general word. To beat an enemy, you have to know its name. So let's turn on the lights and look at these fears closely. The first and most common fear is the fear of making mistakes. This is the big one. We worry, what if I use the wrong tense? What if I say I go instead of I went? What if I use in when it should be on? What if I pronounce ship when I mean to say sheep? This fear is especially strong, and I see this all the time in learners who are taught English in a very traditional academic school system. In that system, you take a test, and the teacher marks every single error with a big, bright red pen. You get your paper back, and all you see is red. We are trained from a very young age to believe that mistakes are bad. Mistakes mean failure. Mistakes mean you are not smart. I am here today to ask you to completely rebuild that belief from the ground up. In language learning, mistakes are not failure. Mistakes are evidence. They are proof that you are trying. They are proof that you are pushing yourself beyond what is easy. You cannot, and I will repeat this, you cannot learn to speak a new language without making thousands and thousands of mistakes. It is a biological impossibility. Think about a little baby learning to walk. The baby pulls itself up, takes one step, wobbles, and falls down, hard. Does the baby's mother gasp and say, "Oh, you are a terrible walker. Just stop trying"? Number. Does the baby lie on the floor and think, "Well, I am clearly not a natural walker. This is embarrassing. I will just crawl for the rest of my life"? Of course not. The baby falls. The fall itself is data. The baby's brain just learned, okay, leaning that far forward doesn't work. The baby gets up and tries again, and again, and again. The falling is the process of learning. Your grammar mistakes are the same. When you say, "I go to the store yesterday," and someone gently corrects you, "Oh, you went to the store." Your brain just got a valuable piece of data. It's not a failure, it's a correction. It's a learning opportunity. From this moment forward, I want to banish the word failure from your practice. When you catch yourself making a mistake, your internal voice should not say, "Oh, I'm so stupid." Your new internal voice, your kind coaching voice, should say, "Ah, interesting. That's the rule. Got it. I'll try to get that right next time." This kindness, this self-compassion, is not a soft, silly idea. It is the core, the absolute foundation of building sustainable confidence. You have to be on your own team. The second big fear is the fear of being judged. This one is more personal. We worry about our accent. We think, "I don't sound like a native speaker from the movies. I sound foreign. People will think I sound uneducated. They will laugh at me." This fear is deeply tied to our identity. We are intelligent, funny, deep-thinking people in our native language. We feel that our broken English makes us sound like a simple, less intelligent version of ourselves. We feel like we are wearing a mask, and a bad one at that. Let's break this down. First, let's talk about accents. I need to be very clear about this. Everyone on this planet who speaks English has an accent. A person from Texas has a strong accent. A person from London has a strong accent. A person from Sydney, Australia has a strong accent. A person from Dublin, Ireland has a strong accent. An accent is not a mistake. An accent is not a problem. Your accent is a beautiful, normal, and permanent part of who you are. It tells the fascinating story of where you are from and what other languages you know. The goal is not to sound like a British or American news anchor. The goal is not to eliminate your accent. The goal is intelligibility. That's a $10 word, but it just means being understood. Can the other person understand your message? If the answer is yes, your accent is not a problem. It is a feature. In fact, most native speakers are not judging your accent. They are just impressed that you are speaking their language. Many people find accents interesting and pleasant. What you hear as a mistake or a flaw, another person just hears as you. And what about the fear of being judged or laughed at in general? This is a psychological principle called the spotlight effect. We all walk through life feeling as if there is a giant, bright spotlight following us, highlighting every tiny mistake, every piece of strange clothing, every time we say something awkward. We feel like everyone is watching us and judging us. But here is the reality. Everyone else is far too busy worrying about their own spotlight. They are worried about what you think of them. They are thinking about what they are going to have for dinner or a stressful email they need to send. That spotlight you feel is, in reality, a tiny, dim flashlight that most people don't even notice. Most people are kind. Most people are patient. And if you are speaking to a native English speaker, they are most likely just impressed. Think about it. How do you feel when a visitor to your country tries to speak your native language? Do you fold your arms and think, wow, their grammar is terrible? Number. You feel a sense of warmth. You feel happy. You lean in and try to help them. You are excited that they are trying to connect with you. That is how most people feel about your English. The third big fear is the fear of freezing. This is that blank mind feeling. This often happens for a very specific technical reason. It happens because we are trying to do something impossibly difficult. We are thinking in our native language, and then, in our head, we are trying to be a perfect real-time translator. We form a beautiful, complex sentence in our mother tongue, and then we try to translate it word for word for word into English. This process is a cognitive nightmare. Let's use an analogy. Imagine your brain is a powerful computer. When you speak your native language, you're running one fast, efficient program. It's easy. When you try to think and translate at the same time, you are forcing that computer to run two massive, heavy programs at once. It's trying to find words in one language, check the grammar rules of a different language, and build a sentence, all while the person in front of you is waiting. Of course, the system overheats. Of course, it crashes and you get the blue screen of death in your mind. The secret, the only long-term solution to this problem, is to build a new habit. You must start, little by little, to think in English. I know. That sounds terrifying. Jessica, how can I think in English when I can't even speak in English? You start small. You start with the smallest possible building blocks. You don't try to think about political philosophy. You start by just labeling the world around you in your head. Let's make this our first big practical technique. We'll call it internal monologue or direct thinking. When you wake up in the morning, the very first thing you do is just look around. In your mind, you just say, bed, window, light, blue wall. That's it. Just single words. You are starting to create a small, English-only space in your brain. Then you can move to the next level, which is simple narration. As you are making coffee, you narrate the process in your head with very simple sentences. I am walking to the kitchen. I am getting the coffee. I need water. I am pouring the water. I am pushing the button. I am waiting. These are not complex Shakespearean sentences. They are simple, they are clear, and most importantly, they are direct. You are not thinking, j'ai besoin d'eau, and then translating it. You are just thinking, I need water. You can do this all day long. When you are in the car, you can think, I see a red car. That building is very tall. The light is red. Now the light is green. I am turning left. You become the narrator of your own life, but in simple English, just for yourself. Here's a small practice prompt for you. Tonight, when you are brushing your teeth, I want you to try this. Just narrate the action to yourself in your head. Here is my toothbrush. I am putting toothpaste on it. I am brushing my teeth, up and down. I need to rinse. It might feel silly at first, but you are building a new mental pathway. You are training your brain to access English words directly, without the slow, clumsy step of translation. The more you do this, the more this pathway will grow, from a tiny footpath into a big, wide highway. And when it comes time to speak in a real conversation, your brain will already be warmed up. It will be in English mode, and the words will come much more easily. So we have identified our fears: the fear of mistakes, the fear of judgment, and the fear of freezing. And we have started to change our mindset. We are going to embrace mistakes as learning data. We are going to remember that no one is judging us as much as we think. And we are starting to build the habit of thinking directly in English. This is the foundation. Now let's build the house. What other practical daily things can we do to build both our skill and our confidence? The single most important thing you can do to become a better speaker is to become a better listener. This sounds backward, but it is the absolute truth. You cannot produce language that you have not first absorbed. You cannot say a word you have not heard. Every word you know, every grammar structure you use, you learned it by first hearing it or reading it. Listening is the input. Speaking is the output. You cannot have output without input. This is why learning English with a podcast, just like you are doing right now, is so incredibly powerful. You are absorbing the natural rhythm, the intonation, the melody, and the common phrases of real spoken English. But we can upgrade this from passive listening to active listening. Passive listening is when the podcast is just on in the background. Maybe you're at the gym or you're cooking and the English is just washing over you. This is still good. It helps your brain get used to the sound and the music of the language. But active listening, this is when you listen with a specific job to do. This is when the learning really happens. Here's one of the most powerful active listening techniques. I call it chunk hunting. What is a chunk? A chunk is a group of words that native speakers almost always use together. We don't speak in single words, stringing them together one by one. We speak in pre-made chunks. For example, a learner who is thinking word for word might say, I give you my opinion. It's grammatically correct, but it sounds a little strange. A native speaker would almost always use a chunk. They would say, "in my opinion," or "if you ask me," or "to be honest." In my opinion is a chunk. You don't have to think about the grammar. You don't have to wonder, is it on my opinion? At my opinion? No, you just memorize the whole 3-word phrase as one piece. When you listen actively, you are a hunter. You are listening for these chunks. When you hear one, you write it down. Just the chunk. Your notebook should be filled with phrases like, "on the other hand," "I'm really looking forward to," "it turns out that," "as a matter of fact," "at the end of the day," "I'm not so sure about that." What do you think about? Why is this so magical for confidence? Because when it's your turn to speak, you don't have to build a whole sentence from scratch. You just reach into your mental toolbox and pull out a pre-built, perfect, natural-sounding chunk. Someone asks your opinion? Your brain doesn't panic. It just says, "I have a chunk for this." And you say, "well, in my opinion." You have just started your sentence perfectly and fluently, and this gives you a huge boost of confidence to say the next part of the sentence. So here is a practice prompt. After this podcast, or you can even pause right now and go back, I want you to re-listen to the first 5 minutes of this episode. Your mission is to be a chunk hunter. Find and write down 5 chunks that I used. Maybe you are not alone. Maybe it's not just about. Maybe by the end of this episode, write them down. Say them out loud. Try to use one of them in a sentence today, even if you just say it to yourself. This is active, powerful learning. The next technique for building your input is one of my favorites. It might feel very strange the first few times you do it, but I promise you it is one of the fastest ways to improve your pronunciation, your rhythm, and your intonation. It is called shadowing. Shadowing is exactly what it sounds like. You are going to be a shadow. You find an audio of a native speaker, like this podcast, and you listen to it. And you try to speak at the exact same time as the speaker. You are not listening and then repeating. You are speaking with them. You are their shadow. Your goal is to copy everything. Not just the words. You must copy the music, the rhythm, the speed, the pauses, the intonation, which is the way the voice goes up and down. You are trying to match the speaker's voice perfectly. Here's the strange part. You don't even need to understand 100% of what is being said. The point of shadowing is not comprehension. The point is imitation. It is a physical exercise for your mouth, your tongue, and your vocal cords. You are bypassing the thinking part of your brain and creating a direct connection between your ears and your mouth. You are building muscle memory. You are teaching your facial muscles how to move in an English way, which might be very different from your native language. Let's try a tiny example right now. I am going to say a sentence, and I want you to try to say it with me at my exact speed. Don't wait for me to finish. Say it along with me. Ready? Here is the sentence. I am learning to speak English with confidence. Let's try it again, maybe a little faster. I am learning to speak English with confidence. One more time with feeling, really copy the melody. I am learning to speak English with confidence. How did that feel? It's a bit of a challenge, right? You have to listen and speak at the same instant, but you are doing it. You can do this with any audio. This podcast is a great place to start because my voice is clear and the pace is moderate. You can even use the playback settings on your podcast app to slow it down to 0.8x speed, if that helps. Start with just 1 minute a day, just 60 seconds of shadowing. If you do this every single day within a few weeks, you will notice a huge difference in how your English sounds and feels. You will start to internalize the music of the language, and it will begin to come out naturally when you speak. So we have active listening for chunks, and we have shadowing for pronunciation and flow. These are our input strategies. Now let's talk about the output. Let's talk about our physical presence. This is a part of confidence that so many learners completely ignore, but it can make an immediate, powerful difference. Your body language doesn't just communicate to other people, it communicates to your own brain. Your posture can literally make you feel more confident or more anxious. Let's do a little experiment. Right now, wherever you are, I want you to slouch, hunch your shoulders forward, curve your spine, look down at your feet or your lap. Make your body as small as possible. Now stay in this small, collapsed position, and I want you to try and say this sentence out loud with power. I am a strong and confident speaker. Say it. I am a strong and confident speaker. It's hard, isn't it? Your voice probably sounded small, weak, and quiet. Your body is sending a message to your brain that says, I am not confident. I am small. I am hiding. Okay, now let's change it. I want you to sit up straight, or if you are standing, stand tall. Imagine there's a string pulling the top of your head up to the sky. Pull your shoulders back and drop them down, away from your ears. Lift your chin. Look straight ahead. Put a small, gentle smile on your face. Make your body big and open. This is a power pose. Now, from this strong, tall, open position, take a deep breath in and let it all out. Now say the same sentence. I am a strong and confident speaker. Did you feel the difference? Did you hear the difference in your own voice? It instantly sounds stronger, clearer, more resonant, and more believable. Your body is now sending a message to your brain that says, I am in control. I am open. I am confident. Before you walk into any situation where you need to speak English, a meeting, a party, even just a phone call, take 10 seconds. Fix your posture. Stand or sit tall, pull your shoulders back, lift your chin. This simple physical change can actually reduce the anxiety chemicals in your brain and increase the confidence chemicals. It's a simple, free, and instant confidence booster. Connected to posture is our breathing. This is just as critical. When we get nervous, what happens to our breath? It becomes fast and shallow. We start taking little sips of air from our upper chest. This type of breathing does two bad things. First, it sends a panic signal to our brain. It's the fight or flight response. Your brain thinks, oh no, we are breathing fast, we must be in danger. And it releases more anxiety, making you more nervous. It's a terrible downward spiral. Second, it means you run out of air when you are speaking, so your voice sounds shaky and weak. Confident speakers, singers, and actors all learn to breathe from their diaphragm or their belly. This is deep, calm, controlled breathing. Let's practice it right now. Put one hand on your chest and one hand on your stomach, right above your belly button. I want you to take a slow, deep breath in through your nose, and I want you to try and make your stomach push your hand out. Try to keep your chest, the hand on your chest, relatively still. So breathe in, and your belly expands like a balloon. Hold it for a second. And now, exhale slowly and completely through your mouth, pulling your belly button back in toward your spine. Let's do it again. A deep, slow breath in through your nose, filling up your belly. Feel your stomach rise. Hold. And a long, slow, controlled breath out. One more time. In and out. Doing this just 3 or 4 times before you speak, or even during a conversation if you feel panic rising, calms your entire nervous system. It breaks the panic cycle. It tells your brain everything is okay. We are not in danger, and it gives your voice a solid, grounded, and much more powerful foundation. The third physical tool is pacing and pausing. Pacing is the speed at which you speak. When we are nervous, we have a strong tendency to talk very, very fast. We rush. We want to get all the words out before we make a mistake or before the other person gets bored. We just want the speaking part to be over. But rushing has 2 major problems. First, it makes you much, much harder to understand. Your words get tangled together and your pronunciation suffers. Second, it makes you sound nervous. You sound like you are panicking. A truly confident speaker is not afraid of silence. In fact, a confident speaker uses silence. They use the pause. A strategic 1-second pause can be incredibly powerful. It makes you sound more thoughtful, more intelligent, and more in control. It also does 2 very practical things. It gives you a moment to take a deep breath and think of your next word. And it gives your listener a crucial moment to absorb and understand what you just said. Let's practice this. I'm going to give you a simple sentence. I want you to read it out loud, but I want you to take a very deliberate 1-second pause where I use an ellipsis. Ready? Say this. Learning English is a journey, not a race. Try it again and really feel the power in those pauses. Learning English is a journey, not a race. It sounds more profound, doesn't it? It sounds more confident. It sounds much better than just rushing through it. Learning English is a journey, not a race. So your new strategy, slow down. It is not a race. You are not being timed. Give your words space to breathe. Use pauses. Take a breath. Your listeners will understand you better, and you will feel and sound infinitely more in control. So let's do a quick recap. We have our new mindset. Mistakes are learning. We have our input techniques, chunk hunting and shadowing, and we have our physical toolkit, strong posture, deep breathing, and powerful pausing. You are already in a much, much stronger position. Now let's get into the battlefield. What happens when you are in the conversation? Despite all your preparation, you get stuck. You forget a word, or your mind goes blank, or you don't understand the other person. This is the moment where confidence is truly tested and built. Let's tackle the first problem. You are speaking, and you forget a key word. You want to say, "My uncle is an architect," but the word architect has completely vanished from your brain. You freeze. The old you would stop, look down, and say, "Sorry, my English is bad." Please, I am asking you from this day forward, remove that phrase, "My English is bad," from your vocabulary. It is not true. Your English is not bad. You are a multilingual person who is just missing one specific word. Instead of giving up, you are going to use the beautiful, powerful art of paraphrasing. Paraphrasing just means explaining something in a different way. You are going to talk around the word you don't know. You are going to describe it. So you can't remember architect. The new, confident, you will pause, take a breath, and say, "My uncle, he's the person who, he designs buildings. He draws the plans for new houses and big offices. And what will the other person do? 99% of the time, they will smile and say, "Oh, an architect." And you will say, "Yes, that's it, an architect. Anyway, my uncle." Look at what just happened. You did not fail. You succeeded. You kept the conversation going. You communicated your idea. And as a bonus, the other person just taught you the word. You had a successful, interactive, learning moment. This is a skill you can practice. When you are alone, pick a random object in your room. Let's say, scissors. Pretend you don't know the name. How would you paraphrase it? You would say, "It's a tool. You use it for cutting paper." It has 2 parts for your fingers. Let's try another one. How would you paraphrase the verb to procrastinate? You might say, It's when you have something very important to do, like study for a test, but you watch videos or clean your room instead." Perfect. This is a fun game you can play with yourself. It turns a moment of panic into a problem-solving challenge. This makes you a flexible, resilient, and unstoppable speaker. Okay, next in-conversation problem. What if your mind goes blank, not just for one word, but for the whole idea? This is where you need filler phrases, or as I like to call them, parking phrases. Now, there are bad filler phrases. These are the ones we use when we panic. Using these too much makes us sound hesitant and unsure. But there are also smart filler phrases. These are phrases that sound natural, and most importantly, they buy you time to think. They let you park the conversation for a second while your brain catches up. Native speakers use these all the time. You should learn them and practice them. Here are some of my favorites. That's a really interesting question. Let me think about that for a second. You know, I haven't really thought about that before, but, well, that's a tricky one. How can I put this? Well, to be honest, if I understand you correctly, you're asking, this one is fantastic. It allows you to repeat the question, which confirms you understood it and gives you several seconds to plan your answer. Let's practice. Imagine someone asks you a very big, difficult question, like, what do you think is the best solution for climate change? Instead of panicking and saying, pollution, bad, solar, you use a smart filler phrase. You pause, you take a breath, you use your good posture, and you say, wow, that's a huge topic. Let me see. I suppose from my perspective, one of the first steps has to be, see, it sounds thoughtful, it sounds intelligent, it sounds confident, and all you did was use a pre-made chunk to buy yourself 5 or 6 seconds of thinking time. So, your new homework is to choose 2 or 3 of these smart filler phrases and memorize them. The final in-conversation skill is perhaps the most important. What do you do when you don't understand the other person? Many learners are terrified of this. They think saying, I don't understand makes them look stupid. So they do the worst possible thing. They just nod and smile. They just pretend to understand. This is a terrible strategy. It's a ticking time bomb. You can nod and smile for a minute or 2, but eventually the other person will ask you a direct question, like, so what do you think about that? And you will be exposed. You will have no idea what they are talking about, and that is far more embarrassing than just asking for help in the first place. A confident speaker is not afraid to say they don't understand. A confident speaker takes control of the conversation to ensure they understand. But instead of just saying what or I don't understand, which can sound a little direct or even rude, we can use polite, specific, and very smart clarification phrases. If you didn't hear them clearly, you can say, I'm sorry, I didn't quite catch that. Could you say it again, please? If you heard the words but you don't understand the meaning, you can say, I'm not sure I follow you. Could you explain that in a different way? If you didn't understand one specific word or idiom, you can ask, I'm sorry, I'm not familiar with that expression. What does at the end of the day mean? Or, my personal favorite, the rephrasing technique. So if I'm hearing you right, you're saying that, and then you would state what you think they said. This is an incredibly advanced and impressive communication skill. It shows the other person that you are listening, that you are trying, and that you care about what they are saying. This is not weakness. This is strong, active, and confident communication. So to review our in-conversation emergency toolkit, when you forget a word, you don't panic. You paraphrase by describing it. When your mind goes blank, you don't say, you use a smart filler phrase to buy time. And when you don't understand, you don't nod and smile, you ask for clarification politely and specifically. With these tools, no conversation can defeat you. You have a plan. You have a strategy for every common problem. Now, we have covered an enormous amount of ground. We've talked about mindset. We've talked about listening and imitation. We've talked about physical tools. And we've talked about in-conversation strategies. But there is one final essential piece of the puzzle. It's the engine that makes the whole car go, and that is practice. You can listen to this podcast 10 times. You can understand every single concept I've shared. You can nod your head and agree with everything. But if you do not open your mouth and produce sound, you will not improve. Confidence is not built by thinking about it. Confidence is the result of doing it. Confidence is the memory of past success. I know what many of you are thinking right now, but Jessica, this is my problem. I have no one to practice with. I don't live in an English-speaking country. My friends don't speak English. What can I do? This is a very common feeling, but in our modern world, it is no longer a real barrier. It's an obstacle, yes, but one we can easily get around. We just have to be creative. Your first, best, and most available speaking partner is right there with you. It is yourself. Yes, you. I am officially giving you permission to talk to yourself in English, out loud. It is one of the most powerful, effective, and completely zero-pressure ways to practice. When you are getting ready in the morning, don't just narrate in your head. Speak it to the mirror. Good morning. Today is going to be a good day. I am going to have a shower. Then I need to make breakfast. I think I will have eggs. This is the narrate your life technique. But now it's audible. You are practicing moving your mouth, making the sounds, connecting the words, and building sentences. You can also take a story you read or an episode of a show you just watched and try to summarize it out loud to your empty room. I just watched an episode of that show. It was about a woman, and she found a lost dog. The dog was very dirty. It does not matter if it's perfect. It doesn't matter if you make mistakes. No one is listening. There is zero judgment. You are just logging your flight time. You are building your speaking minutes. This is incredibly valuable. Another fantastic way to practice alone is to use the little device you probably have in your pocket, your smartphone. Open the voice memo or voice recorder app and just talk. Give yourself a topic. For example, what I did this weekend or my opinion on social media. Hit record and talk for just 60 seconds. Then, and this is the most important and most difficult part, listen to it. I know. Nobody likes the sound of their own recorded voice. It can feel cringy. It can be painful. But it is so valuable. When you listen back, you will hear things you cannot notice when you are speaking. You will hear, wow, I say like in every sentence. Or, my sound is actually pretty good, but my R sound needs work. Or, I spoke way too fast, I need to slow down. You become your own teacher. You can identify one specific thing to work on. Then you hit record and try it again, focusing on improving just that one thing. This is targeted, focused, and incredibly efficient practice. So, speaking to yourself and recording yourself are your foundational, everyday solo practice. But yes, eventually you do need to speak to another human being. This is where the internet becomes your best friend. There are countless websites and apps that are designed to connect you with language exchange partners. This is a fantastic system. You find someone who is a native English speaker and is trying to learn your native language. You connect and you agree to talk. You speak for 15 minutes in English, so you get to practice. And then you speak for 15 minutes in your language, so you are the expert, and you get to help them. It's free. It's fun. And the pressure is incredibly low because you are both learners. You both know what it feels like to make mistakes. If you want a more structured approach, you can find an online tutor on a site like italki, Preply, or Cambly. Even for just 30 minutes a week, this can be a total game changer. This person's job is to help you. It is a dedicated, safe, supportive space for you to practice. They are trained to correct you gently, to ask you good questions, and to focus on your specific goals. It is a powerful investment in your fluency. You can also join online communities. Find a Discord server or a Reddit community, or a Facebook group for people who share your hobby. Do you love gardening, or video games, or baking, or photography? I guarantee there is an English-speaking community for it. Join the conversation. Start by typing, but if they have voice chats, challenge yourself. Join one. Just listen at first, and then, when you feel ready, try to say one thing. You already share an interest, so you will always have something to talk about. The key to all of this is to create a system. You cannot wait for the perfect moment to speak. That moment will never come. You have to create the moments. You have to build a habit of practice. Maybe your new system is simple. Monday, 5 minutes of shadowing this podcast. Tuesday, record 160-second voice memo about my day. Wednesday, narrate my cooking process out loud in English. Thursday, 10 minutes of active listening, chunk hunting. Friday, 30-minute chat with my language exchange partner on Tandem. Saturday, watch a movie in English and try to summarize the plot out loud to my cat. Sunday, rest. That is a powerful, consistent, and completely achievable plan. And I promise you, consistency is so much more important than intensity. Speaking for 10 or 15 minutes every day is 100 times better than speaking for 3 hours just once a month. You are building a new muscle. You are building a new habit. You are building brick by brick your new confidence. As we come toward the end of our time together today, I want to go all the way back to that feeling we started with, that awful, cold, freezing feeling. The blank mind, the frustration, the voice in your head that says, I'm not good enough. I want you to make a promise to yourself. The next time you feel that, I want you to remember this. Your worth as a human being has nothing to do with your ability to use English grammar. Your intelligence, your ideas, your humor, your kindness, your unique personality, These things are not defined by your vocabulary. You are an intelligent, capable, and fascinating person who is in the process of learning an incredibly complex and difficult new skill. What you are doing is amazing. This journey to confident speaking is a marathon, not a sprint. There will be good days. There will be days where you feel fluent, where the words flow and you feel like a superstar. And there will be bad days. There will be days where you can't seem to find a single word, where you feel frustrated all over again. This is normal. This is part of the process. A bad day does not erase all your progress. The next time you are in a conversation and you feel that hot wave of fear rising in your chest, I want you to stop. And I want you to remember your new toolkit. First, take one deep belly breath and let it out. Second, fix your posture. Stand or sit tall. Pull your shoulders back. Third, remind yourself of your new goal. The goal is not perfection. The goal is connection. The goal is communication. Your voice deserves to be heard. Your ideas are worth sharing. The world is a much richer and more interesting place because it has people like you in it. People who are brave enough to build bridges between cultures. People who are brave enough to step out of their comfort zone and learn to speak another language. Be proud of yourself. Be patient with yourself. And most of all, be kind to yourself. Thank you so much for listening to this very long, very detailed episode of English in Advance. I truly hope you found these strategies and techniques helpful. I hope you feel more inspired, more empowered, and more prepared to go out and use your English. Your journey to confidence starts right now. Your call to action for today is very simple. I do not want you to just listen to this and forget. I want you to do something. I want you to pick one thing from this entire podcast. Just one. Maybe it's the power pose. Maybe it's trying shadowing for just 2 minutes. Maybe it's recording a 30-second voice memo on your phone. Maybe it's just looking in the mirror and saying, "My mistakes are my stepping stones." Whatever it is, pick your one thing and do it today. Confidence is built from small, consistent, and courageous actions. If you found this episode helpful, the best way you can support this podcast is to share it with a friend, a classmate, or a fellow English learner who you think might also be struggling with their speaking confidence. And of course, please subscribe to English in Advance on whatever app you are using so you never miss an episode. We are here to help you every single step of your journey. I'm Jessica. Thank you again for joining me. Keep practicing, be brave, and I will talk to you in the next episode.